Hello, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. How are you all doing? Okay. So somebody wrote in about a year ago and said you gotta look at Lance Wallnau. Well, a year ago I was looking at a lot of other things, and I was rereading through my comments this past week, and I read that do something with Lance Wallnau, and I said to myself, self, I think I might do it. Let's see who this character is. Oh my gosh, he is a fantastic person. Oh my goodness. So, first of all, to introduce him, you gotta understand the Wizard of Oz. The Wizard of Oz was the book. Okay, I'm not talking about the movie. The book was written in 1900, and it was symbolic, very symbolic of stuff that was going through the 1890s with silver and gold, with William Jennings Bryan and other things going on. And so it was symbolic of the lust for silver, which, by the way, Dorothy's shoes were not ruby in the book, they were silver. And the gold roads leading to Emerald City. I'm going to go through some of these things. The scarecrow represents the farmer. Stereotypically has very little brains. By the way, 93% or something like that. Back in 1900, 93% of the nation were farmers. And you have the East Coast, the wicked witch of the East, and the West Coast, the wicked witch of the West, and the North and the South. They seem to be the better. All right, you have the scarecrow, the farmers, who's a lot smarter than people realize, but not on the surface. The wicked witch of the West definitely wants the silver slippers. Can't get them. She's trying to get them. The lion, which rhymes with William Jennings Bryan, represents him. He's so scary on the outside, and then all of a sudden he just turns out to be a coward. This was the writer's intent. Dorothy's innocent, resilient, typical American. The wizard. There seems to be a couple of different opinions about this, but in all likelihood, the President of the United States. A lot of smoke and mirrors, and really hiding behind a curtain for who he really is. So, the group, Dorothy and her fellow travelers, look to the president, look to the leader. They look to the wizard to help them with their problems, overcome their problems. They look to him because he can provide what they need. Toto is an interesting character because Toto in Latin means altogether or in total. And Toto represents the people, the whole group, the whole United States. And Toto is the one who exposes the wizard for who he really is. Now, I want to move away from the Wizard of Oz temporarily. I'll bring him back in. And I want to focus on Jesus and his disciples in Matthew chapter 23. In Matthew 23, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees, and he's warning his disciples not to be like them, because they make a fantastic pretense. They exalt themselves in the sight of people. They make people think they're far more spiritual than they really are. And they give themselves titles. Jesus says you don't need those titles. Because if you want to be a part of the kingdom, you've got to be the lowest of them all. You've got to be a servant. But those leaders, they like to magnify themselves. So, who is Lance Wallnau? Good question. First of all, he is a marketplace apostle. That term was given to him by C. Peter Wagner, who divides up the apostles into different territories. I think it's 4 or 5 different territories. I have to dig into that a little bit more. But he is a marketplace apostle. In other words, he is designed, he is called by God to be the leader on the same level as James, Peter, John, Bartholomew, and all the other apostles. Same level, same authority. He's a marketplace apostle. So he's brilliant. He is chosen by God to be an apostle, the head of an area called the marketplace. Over the nations, by the way. All right, he calls himself doctor. One of three evangelical leaders. Number three, he is one of three evangelical leaders who accurately predicted that President Trump would become president of the United States. This must mean he is from God. Absolutely. And by the way, if I am in Las Vegas gambling and I make money on the long shot, no doubt it is because God gave me the long shot. Number four, he is the writer of books, helping evangelical Christians vote in the chosen man of God, President Donald Trump. Number five, Wallnau and Jim Baker together minted this coin, and they sold it. For $70 to $100, you can have a gold-plated coin with King Cyrus and Donald Trump side by side. And you can buy that coin and hold it in your hands at home and rub it. And no doubt this will help you to pray and remind you to pray for another term with the president. Because Walter Matthau. I keep on calling him Walter Matthau. All right, Lance Wallnau. I don't know why I keep on going to Walter Matthau. In my head I do. But Lance Wallnau believes that God has chosen our president to help lead us into the final days, where righteousness and godliness takes over, and where Christians under his leadership and other apostle leadership will be able to take over the world. He has lectured at Harvard, MIT, and London School of Theology. He is a speaker as well as a business and political strategist. He believes, number 8, he believes in Christian dominionism. I was already talking a little bit about this. In preparation for Christ's return. So in order to establish Christians over the nations, and they are to rule the nations, they are to take territory from the atheists and from the evil people in this world. In order to do this, we need to reestablish the fivefold ministry. The apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors, and teachers. As these fivefold ministers rise up, and C. Peter Wagner taught this, as they rise up, the kingdom of God is going to flourish greater than it ever has before. And to help take over the nations, he has revived the 7 Mountain Mandate. He considers it the best template for dissecting the world into territories to conquer. According to the 7 Mountain Mandate, there are 7 domains that shape this world. And those 7 domains are family, they are religion and faith, they are education, they are government and law, they are media, news and commentary, they are arts and entertainment, and 7th, finally, they are business and economics. This was a 7-fold mandate that kind of surfaced given to three people by God. Lauren Cunningham, the founder of Youth with a Mission. God revealed it to him. Bill Bright, the founder of Campus Crusade for Christ. God revealed it to him. And then a month later, God revealed to Francis Schaeffer the same thing, so it has to be from God. Now, this would come as a surprise to a French Marxist, Louis Althusser. Why? Because he came up with the same list, dividing one of them into 2 territories. So he came up with 8 territories, 7 years previous to them. And he said that those 8, didn't call them mountains, but those 8 territories were territories that capitalism has thrived in. So he was coming a little bit, changing what he had learned from Karl Marx, saying it's not all about economy. You got 7 areas, 8 areas that you got to be looking at. And lo and behold, the Lord reveals the same thing to these 3 Christian leaders 7 years after he evidently must have revealed it to this French Marxist. Something's a little bit off. All right. World's resources are to come to the believers, the true believers, under the leadership of the apostles and prophets and the teachers and the pastors and anybody else belonging to their group. So you can expect to see more and more areas of poverty, while the Christians, the fivefold ministry-led Christians, they become wealthier and wealthier and wealthier. No doubt, one of the ways this happens is through, if you look at Lance's websites, they're loaded down with merch. Buy merch, buy merch, buy merch, buy this coin. No doubt, that is how God is going to be bringing the wealth of the nations into the fivefold ministry dominated group. Finally, he believes in territorial spirits. These are demons, demonic powers, very powerful, that rule the nations, that we have to cast out and get out. And one of the chief demons is the Leviathan. And the Leviathan likes to twist the truth about President Trump. And twist using the media and Democrats. It twists and turns things around. And those who expose Lance as the man behind the curtains. Oh, that's the Leviathan, the spirit of the Leviathan doing that. Let's look into his education. As I mentioned, Jesus talked about the Pharisees and their lust for power, or their lust for magnifying themselves above that which is written and above that which they really were, taking on titles. Let's look at his education. He has a doctorate. Well, I looked into that. What kind of doctorate does he have? Oh my gosh, what a mess. All his schooling, it's so messy and so confusing and so filled with mysteries. One wonders, does he have any degree? But I did find, here's what I'll give you. He's got a diploma from the Phoenix University of Theology. Now, if you look that up, you find out that it's a diploma mill. You pay your $6,000. I don't know, maybe you write a little 3-page letter about why you deserve a doctorate, and they send you the doctorate. That is his doctorate. It's a diploma mill. And some have a little bit more than that, but it is not accredited. And if it has any kind of accreditation, it comes not from legitimate accreditation groups, but probably something that, like Andrew Wommack's accreditation business, giving out accreditation to schools that give out diplomas that are not accepted in any business. But he does have a diploma mill doctorate. Now, if he had a legitimate doctorate based on his experience, if Stanford University was to do that with somebody, Yale or any of these others, Princeton, any kind of university, legitimate university, you are allowed to call yourself a doctor only in that university. Billy Graham has 20 doctorates that are honorary in nature. In other words, universities gave him these based on what he has done. 20 of them. He had 20 more that he has refused because he just doesn't need them. He is allowed to be called Dr. Billy Graham in those universities. He is not allowed to be called Dr. Billy Graham on books. He is not allowed to be called Dr. Billy Graham anywhere else. That is the nature of an honorary degree. But that is not the nature of a diploma mill. Diploma mill is built just to give you that title, even though you don't deserve it. He has one of these. And in that, he's the Wizard of Oz. Where can he call himself? Doctor. If you look for this university that he's gone to, the Phoenix University of Theology, you will find different places. One group believes they looked up the address and came to this place and found no university there. I looked up and found out this church in Arkansas as the address, out in the middle of the country, and nothing really said about it. His doctorate is a fake. He holds an MA, and very possibly holds a Master's of Arts, and teaches classes. Some websites say that it is at Southwestern and from Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary, but I doubt it. And the reason I doubt that is because in 2006, the seminary imposed a prohibition on professors and administration who are charismatic. And they have outlawed tongues, both of which Lance is and practices. There is another possibility that comes up on the internet, Southwestern Christian College, which is a Pentecostal school in Oklahoma City. Now, when you get back even further and look for his bachelor's degree, there's just a lot of mystery. It seems at that time he may have been at Oral Roberts University for a short while. It may be, too, he, in his testimony, mentions some college in Ohio, but doesn't give a name. So it's an unknown college. Next, I want to look at where he's been lecturing. Harvard, MIT, and London School of Theology. These look impressive. But let's look a little closer. As an example, I want to use myself. Why? Because this is true. Everything I say is 100% true. I am an actor in film, not just here, not just on YouTube, on film, real film, national-wide film. Here, now, I say that, it sounds so impressive, doesn't it? What am I doing? I'm exalting myself. I am like the Wizard of Oz, putting up the smoke and mirrors and hiding behind a curtain. And what do you find when you get behind my curtain? I did a film with Tim Allen. This is true. I looked for this online. I can't get it without paying money. I'm not going to pay money for this stupid thing. In the movie, Joe Somebody, in the early scenes, the first 5 minutes, he is stapling up a banner and he meets his future girlfriend. While he's talking to her, if you look way in the background, you will see me sitting at a table talking to somebody. All right, I'm an actor. All right. right, that's about it. Okay, do you see though how I can hide all that stuff? That's kind of what I suspected right away. And so I went and I checked out London School of Theology. I can't find him teaching there at all. That doesn't mean he didn't teach, but I had my suspicions of how and what he said. They might have actually invited him in for a full teaching. MIT, I can't find it all. And Harvard, I can find. Both of these, I think, had the same type of situation going on. Kind of like mine. Something small, but something he could at least can put on his resume, make himself look bigger than he really is. Harvard University, it's a student-led, this I found, it was a student-led 7-mountain friendly group whose purpose is to bring in faith into politics. The school administration and the teachers did not invite him. It were these students. So it's kind of like a glorified Bible study. The school newspaper absolutely lambasted and tore them apart, saying, look at these people this Christian group is inviting. And so he was not very welcome by most people at Harvard, but rather a small group of Christian students. I kind of suspected that, by the way, when he said that, and I was spot on. Lance Wallnau is the Wizard of Oz. He's a lot of show. He reveals himself as highly educated expert with big titles. He's a doctor. He's a marketplace apostle. Lance Wallnau is the Wizard of Oz. He reveals himself as one who is highly educated and highly sought after by schools and churches and all over. But behind all the smoke and mirrors, behind the curtains, he is not the man on the screen. Many like him because he gives an image of somebody big, important, and powerful. Many people like him because they want to believe the image. They want to believe the smoke and mirrors and want to believe that they're real. They don't want to see behind the curtain the real man. They don't want to know that behind the curtain is a little man boasting great things. This is Ted.